Hi, this is Pastor Jim Driscoll of Christ Lutheran Church with the NCTV 45 thought for the day. Thought I'd bring you folks up on my health situation. I've had some more testing and meetings, and these will determine the course of action for my next treatment, which will probably be surgery on my colon to remove the cancer there. Would like to talk about an issue that has kind of backed off in the past few months, mostly in regards to men having operations to cosmetically change their gender. I say cosmetically because there's a vast difference between a man's physiology and a woman's. I finished U.S. Senator from Louisiana, John Kennedy, no relation to the president from Massachusetts. In his book, Testing Negative for Stupid, he writes, some argue these advantages disappear once a biological male begins hormone treatments. But that's not true either. The biological differences that began in the womb can't be undone with hormone shots or surgery. Estrogen doesn't shrink a man's heart or lungs or change the width of his pelvis or the shape of his bones. It truly is stunning. That's end quote. It truly is stunning the amount of stupid going on, especially in collegiate sports. Girl trains for years, probably since she was at least 6 years old. Believe me, I know the drill, getting up early to get in the pool early so you have time in the pool or on the in the gym or wherever it is that you need to get time. If you're training at that level, you need to have that kind of space. And it really stinks when you're trying to train. Your parents really think you have a shot at least college, if maybe not even the Olympics. And in one swoop, a guy comes along masquerading as a girl and takes that all away. Since to most of the mediocre liberals out there, we don't really care about achievement. They just want to lie and manipulate the outcome. And they don't care at whose expense. Lots of young women lose out on early mornings, long days of training, nutrition, all of the things that go into that elite kind of training to a guy posing as a girl. There's simply not fair and does nothing to promote the transgender agenda and shows misguided attempts by those who are clueless and poor judgment and don't anticipate the effects of their poorly thought out games. These are the people that, live in those ivory towers. The notorious situation of the assumed name Leah Thomas by William Thomas, a swimmer on the University of Pennsylvania's men's swim team. You would think an Ivy League school would know better. This brought the issue to the forefront. Thomas ranked about 1600th in the national men's ranking, so he was certainly an elite swimmer, but not, national champion, any kind of national championship. But when he tried to be female, he won the women's national swim championship. And men's muscles certainly make a difference in swimming. You can beat the national women's champion. I saw a demonstration of different kinds of boxing, even by elite women boxers. And even pretty average men were having their way with them. They had no chance against a man who was any kind of condition to box. Well, as I said, the University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League school, finally figured out the inequity, and so took the titles away from Thomas and gave them to the women who rightly earned them. And so justice was restored. But going through this whole exercise and nonsense certainly doesn't reflect well on anybody. We would hope that this is being done by all organizations who have unfairly deprived girls and women of rightly earned awards. I'm Jim Driscoll, the pastor of Christ Lutheran Church, 1302 East Washington Street. That's in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, Check us out on the web, christlutheran-newcastle.org. Questions, comments, contact me on the website. For a transcript of today's thought, go to revjamesdriscollmdiv.com. Sunday worship is at 10:30 a.m. All are welcome. With the NCTV 45 thought for the day, God bless your day. This is Pastor Jim Driscoll of Christ Lutheran Church with the NCTV 45 thought for the day. I want to get my background memorabilia in the picture here. I don't know how I changed it. Anyways, hey, at least we're almost through January. Next week's the last full week in January. Doesn't mean we're out of the woods, because we still have February to go, which is usually worse than January. And of course, March, that can always provide some surprises, especially where I'm from in Massachusetts. I wanted to continue to discuss so-called transgender male athletes in girls and women's sports. So-called because no matter what the cosmetic changes are to a person, they will never change the gender that God gave them at birth. I don't care what you think. A male baby is born with certain physiological traits. As Senator John Kennedy pointed out, these can't be done or changed with hormone shots or size of shoulders, pelvis, heart, lungs. Further, no matter what the boy will have done, millions of XY chromosomes marking him as a male, regardless of what delusional desires the person is trying for, still course through his body. As Senator Kennedy points out, quote, the biological women who compete against them are more likely to get hurt. In May 2023, high school girl volleyball player in North Carolina sued the state's athletic association after a transgender female spiked a ball in her face and gave her a concussion along with long-term injuries. February 2024, a girls basketball team in Massachusetts forfeited a game after a transgender female injured 3 players in a single night. Sorry, but there's psychological issues involved with people who are involved in transgenderism, and who's to say that that guy didn't get there to injure people. The girl's bones don't care whether the person who broke them identify as a woman. People can live in their delusions, but don't expect that I should play along with these sad, misguided acts. I'm Jim Driscoll, the pastor of Christ Lutheran Church, 1302 East Washington Street, Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Check us out on the web. It's christlutheran-newcastle.org. Questions, comments, contact me on the website. For a transcript of today's thought, go to revjamesdriscollmdiv.com. Sunday worship is at 10:30 a.m. All are welcome. With the NCTV 45 thought for the day, God bless your day. Hi, this is Pastor Jim Driscoll of Christ Lutheran Church with the NCTV 45 thought for the day. Today, let's have a much more edifying discussion. Uh, Today, we'll talk about prayer. Ryan Skoog et al. By the way, et al. Means it's Latin for and others. This was a group composed of accomplished Christians, various parts of the culture, including corporate chief executives, those holding senior positions in government and sports, ministry, education, military, any high achievers in our culture who are known as practicing Christians. Skoog writes, quote, Andrew Newberg, and ironically, my comment, agnostic neuroscience at Thomas Jefferson University and Hospital. It's been learned one of the most influential neuroscientists alive. He's authored several books, including How God Changes Your Brain, and done extensive work scientifically documenting the effects of prayer on the brain. Here's what he concluded, quote, biologically, extended prayer over an 8-week period can change the brain to such an extent that it can be measured on a brain scan. Prayer fortifies or builds new neural pathways in areas on the brain associated with social interaction, compassion, and sensitivity to others, unquote. I've often been accused of being insensitive. The culture chooses something irrational and frankly damaging uh, to the people involved and to the culture as a whole without any positive results. That is, I see many issues, and we've been talking about transgenderism and other trendy and vacuous issues of the day. My encouraging prayer is an attempt at including all people to be in God's will and turn to Him. Despite what may be thought, in the end, it's going to be God's will and not the empty floundering of our culture. I see my praying as being very compassionate for those who otherwise would be lost to eternal condemnation in Jesus. And yes, there is a hell, Virginia, and we need to be compassionate to those who are doing everything to punch their ticket to hell. We don't want that, even if it's the most deranged person we know. We want everyone to be in heaven in Christ, to be in the eternal resurrection where we do get to live that true eternal life. And it's through your prayer and mine, and we cannot be more compassionate than through our prayers. I'm Jim Driscoll, the pastor at Christ Lutheran Church, 1302 East Washington Street, Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Check us out on the web. It's christlutheran-newcastle.org. Questions, comments, contact me on the website. For a transcript of today's thought, go to revjamesdriscolmdiv.com. Sunday worship is at 10:30 a.m. and all are welcome. With the NCTV 45 thought for the day, God bless your day. Hi, this is Pastor Jim Driscoll of Christ Lutheran Church with the NCTV 45 thought for the day. We've been talking about issues regarding transsexuality, and now we've switched to more edifying subject in prayer. And everyone can and should pray to God, and God is the Father of Jesus Christ. Ryan Skoog et al. Interviewed numerous Christians who have been successful in their various fields, such as corporate work, medicine, sports, education, military. Specifically, they wanted to know what their daily prayer practices were. Study by Andrew Newberg points out an agnostic neuroscientist at the Thomas Jefferson University and Hospital, that prayer also decreases stress, anxiety, and depression in scientifically measurable ways, positively changing our neurochemistry. Consistent extended prayer also works against anger and rigidity in the brain by reducing stress hormones. God gave us a way to regularly interact with Him daily. He wants us to use the gift of prayer to come into His presence, not just once a day, not just a few minutes, but minute by minute. And if we choose to pray and to lift Him up during our day, He always welcomes hearing from us. This gift also provides a great benefit to you, physical, mental, and spiritual help for us. We should turn to God to use therapy, the therapy He gives us through prayer. I'm Jim Driscoll, the pastor at Christ Lutheran Church, 1302 East Washington Street, Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Check us out on the web. It's christlutheran-newcastle.org. Questions, comments, contact me on the website. For a transcript of today's thought, go to revjamesdriscoll.com. Sunday worship is at 10:30 a.m. All are welcome with the NCTV 45 thought for the day. God bless your day. This is Pastor Jim Driscoll of Christ Lutheran Church with the NCTV 45 thought for the day. We're talking about prayer this week with a book by Ryan Scrooge et al. The book's title is Lead with Prayer, and it's for those studying those who do lead in various parts of our culture, and for those people who want to see what it is that makes leaders, the effect that prayer has on leaders and leadership, and for us to lead in our little part of that culture. It's based on research of Scrooge and his associates and interviews with Christian leaders, as I said, from various parts of the culture: corporate, sports, medicine, health, education, military, other areas. He quotes neuroscientist Richard Davidson, professor of psychology and psychiatry at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and the founder and director of the Center for Healthy Minds, who writes, "You can sculpt your brain just as you would sculpt your muscles if you went to the gym. Our brains are continuously sculpted, whether you like it or not, wittingly or unwittingly." Newberg expands this idea. If you want to be good at crossword puzzles, you can practice them and get better at crossword puzzles, but it doesn't make you good at other things. But prayer seems to have the same effect weightlifting has for your body, in that it allows you to do other sports activities, emotions better as you get larger muscles, unquote. Might add that weightlifting, for example, also has positive effects on the health of your body, very positive effects on your joints, on your bones, on the muscle, obviously, but on the sinew, the different parts of your body that need to be built up and increased, and certainly weights do this. Through the cancer ordeal that I've been going through, I've been told, because I'm in good shape, my body is doing more to fight the effects of the cancer. Likewise, with prayer, prayer helps the body physically, spiritually, and emotionally, that we will feel the effects of, not just for ourselves, but to benefit others in our lives. I certainly want to take more time in prayer and feel those positive effects of our bodies and our emotional and mental health. and to help other people to be benefited from our strength in our body, mind, and soul. I'm Jim Driscoll, the pastor of Christ Lutheran Church, 1302 East Washington Street, Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Check us out on the web. It's christlutheran-newcastle.org. Contact me on the website for any questions or comments. For a transcript of today's thoughts, go to revjamesdriscollmdiv.com. Sunday worship is at 10:30 a.m. All are welcome with the NCTV 45 thought for the day. God bless your day.